The day the sky turned red was the day Earth changed forever. It started like any other Tuesday morning. People went to work, children to school, and life moved on as usual. But at 9:47 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, every screen on the planet went dark. Then, they all showed the same message. Your planet is now under our control. Resistance is futile. John Smith, a regular office worker in New York, stared at his computer in disbelief. He thought it was a joke, a hacker's prank gone too far. But when he looked out the window, he saw them. Massive ships, dark and menacing, filled the sky. They were so big they blocked out the sun, casting an eerie red glow across the city. Panic spread like wildfire. People ran into the streets, screaming and pointing at the sky. Cars crashed, alarms blared, and chaos took over. The alien invasion had begun, and humanity was caught completely off guard. The first attack came swiftly. Beams of intense energy shot down from the ships, targeting major cities around the globe. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, all fell within hours. The world's militaries tried to fight back, but their weapons were useless against the advanced alien technology. Sarah Chen, a young scientist in Beijing, watched in horror as her lab was destroyed. She had been working on cutting-edge AI technology, but now it all seemed pointless. As she ran through the burning streets, she realized that humanity's greatest achievements were nothing compared to the power of their invaders. Within days, governments worldwide surrendered. The aliens, calling themselves the Zarkov, established control centers in every major city. They were tall, gray-skinned creatures with 4 arms and eyes that glowed an unsettling purple. Their technology was beyond anything humans had ever seen. The Zarkov leader, Supreme Commander Zelnek, appeared on all screens. His voice was cold and emotionless as he declared, "Humans, you are now part of the Galactic Federation. Your resources and labor belong to us. Cooperate, and you may live. Resist, and you will be eliminated." Life under alien rule was harsh. Humans were forced to work in mines and factories, extracting Earth's resources for the Zarkov. Food was scarce, and anyone who complained disappeared. The aliens saw humans as nothing more than primitive animals, useful only for their labor. But not everyone accepted this new reality. In the ruins of old Chicago, a group of survivors came together. Led by former Army Sergeant Maria Gonzalez, they began to plan. "We may have lost the first battle," Maria told her ragtag group, "but the war isn't over. We'll show these aliens what humans are really made of." Their first act of rebellion was small but significant. They hacked into a Zarkov communication tower and broadcast a message of hope to any humans who could hear it. "Stay strong," the message said. "We are not beaten. The resistance lives." The Zarkov were furious. They increased patrols and punishments, determined to crush any spark of rebellion. But their actions only made the humans angrier and more determined to fight back. In a hidden bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, a team of scientists and engineers worked tirelessly. They studied every piece of alien technology they could get their hands on, looking for weaknesses. Dr. Alan Park, a brilliant physicist, made a breakthrough. Their energy shields, he explained to his team, they operate on a frequency we can disrupt. As news of the resistance spread, more people joined the fight. They sabotaged alien machinery, stole weapons, and gathered information. It was dangerous work, and many were caught and executed. But for every resistance fighter that fell, 2 more took their place. The Galactic Council, the governing body that had sanctioned the invasion of Earth, watched these developments with growing concern. They had expected the humans to submit easily, like so many other species before them. But these Earthlings were proving to be surprisingly resilient. 1 year after the invasion, humanity was bloodied but not broken. In secret bases around the world, they prepared for a counterattack. They had learned much about their enemy and were ready to put that knowledge to use. John Smith, now a hardened resistance fighter, looked out over the ruins of his city. The alien ships still hung in the sky, but they no longer seemed as terrifying as before. "We're coming for you," he whispered, his eyes narrowing with determination. "Earth strikes back." Little did the Zarkoth know, they had awakened a sleeping giant. Humanity's brutal revenge was about to begin, and the Galactic Council would soon learn the true cost of underestimating the human spirit. 3 years had passed since the Zarkoth invasion. The aliens thought they had crushed humanity's spirit, but they were wrong. Deep underground, in secret bases scattered around the world, humans were discovering strengths they never knew they had. In a hidden lab beneath the ruins of MIT, Dr. Emily Chen worked tirelessly. She had been a computer science professor before the invasion. Now she led a team of hackers and programmers in a desperate race against time. "I think I've got it," Emily said, her eyes glued to the screen. Her team gathered around, watching as she typed in a series of commands. Suddenly, the alien text on the screen changed to English. "We're in," she whispered, a smile spreading across her face. For months, they had been trying to crack the Zarkoth's communication codes. Now, they could intercept and understand alien messages. It was a huge breakthrough for the Resistance. Meanwhile, in the Australian outback, Jack Thompson, a former mechanic, made his own discovery. He had been studying a damaged Zarkoth vehicle, trying to understand how it worked. As he tinkered with the engine, something clicked. "Crikey," Jack muttered, his eyes wide with realization. "It's not that different from a regular engine, just more advanced." He called over his team, explaining his findings. If they could replicate this technology, they might be able to build weapons to fight back. These small victories gave hope to the Resistance. Humans were adapting, learning, and growing stronger. But the path was not easy. Many lives were lost as they fought to steal alien technology and gather information. In the mountains of Colorado, Maria Gonzalez, now the leader of the North American Resistance, received reports from around the world. "Emily's team has cracked their comms," she told her lieutenants, "and Jack's group is reverse engineering their tech. We're making progress." But Maria knew they needed more. They needed a way to fight back directly. That's when she heard about Dr. Viktor Petrov, a Russian scientist working on something big. In a secret facility beneath the Ural Mountains, Viktor had made a startling discovery. He found a way to disrupt the Zarkoth's energy shields. "It's like finding their Achilles heel," he explained to Maria over a secure line. "We can make them vulnerable." As these discoveries spread through the Resistance network, more people found the courage to join. What started as small groups of survivors grew into an organized global movement. They called themselves the Earth Defense Force, EDF. The Zarkoth noticed the increase in human activity. They stepped up their patrols and punishments, but it was too late. The spark of rebellion had grown into a flame that couldn't be extinguished. John Smith, now a high-ranking member of the EDF, led a daring raid on a Zarkoth supply depot. Using the intel from Emily's team and weapons developed with Jack's reverse-engineered tech, they succeeded where they would have failed before. As John and his team escaped with a cache of alien weapons, he couldn't help but smile. "We're not the same humans they invaded 3 years ago," he thought. "We're evolving, adapting, and soon we'll show them what we can really do." The Galactic Council, watching from afar, began to worry. Reports from Earth showed increasing human resistance. Species that had been easily conquered in the past usually remained docile. But humans were different. They were unpredictable, resourceful, and stubbornly refused to give up. In a secret meeting, the council debated what to do. "Perhaps we underestimated these Earthlings," one member suggested. "We should send reinforcements to crush this rebellion once and for all." But another counselor disagreed. "No," he said, his voice filled with concern. "I fear that would only make them fight harder. These humans, they're unlike anything we've encountered before." As the council argued, unaware of the full extent of humanity's progress, the people of Earth prepared for their next move. In hidden bases, factories, and labs around the world, Humans worked tirelessly. They were no longer just survivors. They were becoming warriors, scientists, and leaders. The resistance was growing stronger every day. And soon, very soon, they would be ready to strike back. The Zarkov had awakened a sleeping giant, and humanity's hidden strengths were about to be revealed in full force. Little did the aliens know, their days of easy conquest were numbered. Earth was preparing to fight back, and the galaxy would never be the same again. 5 years into the Zarkov occupation, humanity was ready to change the game. In a secret facility deep beneath the Amazon rainforest, the Earth Defense Force's brightest minds gathered. They were about to unveil a weapon that would alter the course of the war. Dr. Emily Chen, the computer genius who had cracked the Zarkov codes, stood before a group of resistance leaders. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, her voice trembling with excitement, "I give you Project Phoenix." She pulled a sheet off a large object, revealing what looked like a cannon. But this was no ordinary weapon. It was humanity's trump card. Project Phoenix combines everything we've learned, Emily explained. It uses the Zarkov's own technology against them. One shot can disable an entire alien ship. The room erupted in cheers. For the first time since the invasion, hope filled the air. They finally had a chance to fight back. John Smith, now a general in the EDF, stepped forward. "When can we deploy it?" he asked, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. "We're ready for the first test," Emily replied. "We've identified a Zarkov mining operation in the Australian outback. It's isolated enough for us to strike without alerting their main forces." The next day, a small team led by John and Emily sneaked into position near the alien mining site. The Zarkov, confident in their superiority, had grown careless. They never saw the humans coming. As the alien overseers barked orders at human slaves, John gave the signal. Emily aimed Project Phoenix and fired. A pulse of energy, invisible to the naked eye, shot out. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, chaos erupted. The Zarkov's energy shields flickered and died. Their weapons stopped working. The alien overseers panicked, unable to call for help. Their advanced technology, once their greatest strength, had become useless. The human slaves, seeing their chance, turned on their captors. With bare hands and makeshift weapons, they overwhelmed the confused aliens. In less than an hour, the mining operation was under human control. News of the victory spread like wildfire through the resistance network. For the first time in 5 years, humans had won a significant battle against the Zarkov. It was more than a military victory. It was a symbol of hope. Maria Gonzalez, now the supreme commander of the EDF, called an emergency meeting. "This is our chance," she told her generals. "We need to strike while they're confused. Emily, how soon can we produce more Phoenix weapons?" Emily smiled. "We've been preparing for this. We have facilities ready to start production immediately. Within a month, we can arm resistance cells worldwide." The next few weeks were a blur of activity. As Phoenix weapons were distributed, the resistance launched coordinated attacks across the globe. Zarkov outposts fell one after another. Human slaves were freed and quickly joined the fight. The aliens, caught off guard by this sudden turn of events, struggled to respond. Their usual tactics no longer worked. For the first time, they felt fear. On the Zarkov mothership orbiting Earth, Supreme Commander Xelnak received dire reports from the planet's surface. "Impossible," he muttered, his purple eyes wide with disbelief. How could these primitives develop such technology? He quickly sent a message to the Galactic Council. "The situation on Earth has become complicated," he reported. "We request immediate reinforcements." But the Council was in chaos. Reports from Earth had sent shockwaves through the galactic community. Species that had long been subjugated by the Council watched with growing interest. If humans could fight back, maybe they could too. Back on Earth, the resistance celebrated their victories, but they knew the war was far from over. In a hidden bunker, John and Emily watched a live feed of the Zarkov ship crashing in the distance. "We've won some battles," John said, "but they still outnumber us. The real fight is just beginning." Emily nodded, her face a mix of determination and worry. "You're right. But for the first time, we have a real chance. Humanity has shown its true strength." As they spoke, resistance fighters around the world prepared for the next phase of the war. The Zarkov had awakened a sleeping giant, and now they would face the full fury of humanity's revenge. The turning point had come. Earth was no longer just resisting, it was fighting back, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The tide had turned. Humanity, once on the brink of defeat, now stood ready to reclaim their world. 6 months after the first use of Project Phoenix, the Earth Defense Force prepared for their biggest operation yet. In a war room deep beneath the ruins of London, Maria Gonzalez addressed her top commanders. "Operation Thunderstrike begins today," she announced, her voice filled with determination. "We hit every major Zarkov base simultaneously. We show them that Earth is no longer their playground." Around the world, resistance fighters geared up for battle. They carried Phoenix weapons and wore armor reverse-engineered from Zarkov technology. The hunters had become the hunted. John Smith led a team towards a massive alien fortress in the heart of what used to be New York City. As they approached, he raised his hand, signaling his troops to stop. "Remember," he whispered, "we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every human they've enslaved, for every life they've destroyed." At exactly midnight GMT, the attack began. Phoenix weapons lit up the sky, disabling Zarkov defenses across the globe. In New York, John's team stormed the fortress. The aliens, their technology useless, were caught completely off guard. Meanwhile, in orbit, a daring operation unfolded. Emily Chen, now both a brilliant scientist and a skilled pilot, led a small fleet of captured and modified Zarkov ships. Their target, the alien mothership. "All units, prepare for insertion." Emily's voice crackled over the comms. Her heart raced as they approached the massive vessel. Years of preparation had led to this moment. As Emily's team infiltrated the mothership, chaos erupted on board. Supreme Commander Zelnak watched in horror as humans in Zarkov armor poured into the command center. "How is this possible?" he roared, his purple eyes wide with disbelief. Emily stepped forward, a Phoenix weapon aimed at Zelnak's chest. "You should have never underestimated us," she said coldly. With a single shot, the mighty Zarkov leader fell. Back on Earth, the battles raged on. In the ruins of Paris, Maria herself led the charge against a key Zarkov command center. The aliens fought desperately, but they were no match for the fury of the liberated humans. As the command center fell, Maria stood atop its ruins and raised her weapon high. "For Earth," she shouted, and thousands of voices echoed her cry. The counterattack was not without cost. Many brave fighters fell in battle. But for every human lost, dozens of aliens were captured or defeated. The Zarkov, once so confident in their superiority, now fled in terror from the very beings they had enslaved. In what used to be Beijing, Jack Thompson led a team to liberate a massive slave labor camp. As the Phoenix weapons disabled the alien guards, the prisoners rose up. Jack watched with tears in his eyes as families were reunited and chains were broken. An old man approached Jack, his eyes filled with gratitude. "We had lost hope," he said softly. "You gave it back to us." As news of the victories spread, more and more humans joined the fight. Those who had hidden in fear now emerged, ready to take back their planet. The EVA's ranks swelled with volunteers, each eager to play their part in Earth's liberation. In the Galactic Council's chambers, panic set in. The councilors argued fiercely about how to handle the Earth situation. Some called for sending every available ship to crush the human rebellion. Others, seeing the futility of fighting such a determined species, suggested withdrawal. "We cannot let this stand," one counselor shouted. If Earth succeeds, other subjugated worlds might get ideas. Another counselor, older and wiser, shook his head. Perhaps, he said quietly, it is time we reconsidered our policy of conquest. These humans have shown us the cost of underestimating a species. As the council debated, humanity pressed on. Within weeks, major cities around the world were liberated. Zarkoth ships flood Earth's atmosphere, pursued by Earth's new fleet of captured vessels. In the ruins of the New York fortress, John found a battered Zarkoth flag. He tore it down and raised Earth's colors in its place. As he watched the flag flutter in the wind, he allowed himself a small smile. We're not done yet, he thought, but we've shown them what humanity is capable of. The counterattack had been a resounding success, but the war was far from over. Earth had tasted victory, and now they hungered for more. The next phase of the conflict would take humanity beyond their world, into the stars themselves. The galaxy watched in awe and fear as the once-conquered Earth rose up, ready to take its place among the stars. The age of human subjugation was over. The era of Earth's revenge had just begun. As Earth's forces pushed the Zarkoth back, a darker side of humanity emerged. The years of oppression had left deep scars, and many humans thirsted for more than just victory. They wanted revenge. In a secret facility on the moon, now reclaimed by human forces, Dr. Viktor Petrov worked on a new project. His eyes gleamed with a mix of genius and madness as he presented his creation to the Earth Defense Force leadership. I call it the Nexus Bomb, Viktor explained, pointing to a small, innocent-looking device. It doesn't just disable their technology like the Phoenix weapons. It rewrites their neural pathways. One blast, and a Zarkoth becomes a willing slave to humanity. The room fell silent. General Maria Gonzalez stepped forward, her face grim. You're talking about mind control, Victor. That's crossing a line. Victor laughed bitterly. They crossed the line when they invaded our world. This is justice. After heated debate, the EDF leadership made a fateful decision. The Nexus bomb would be deployed. The first target was a Zarkoth colony on Mars. John Smith led the attack, conflicted about the new weapon but determined to end the war. As the bombs detonated, the effect was immediate and chilling. Thousands of Zarkoth dropped their weapons, their eyes glazed over. They turned on their own kind, capturing or killing any who hadn't been affected. Within hours, the Mars colony fell. News of the attack spread quickly through the galaxy. Other species watched in horror as footage of blank-eyed Zarkoth obeying human commands circulated. The brutal efficiency of Earth's revenge shocked even their allies. On a distant planet, a group of alien refugees huddled around a holographic display. The humans, one whispered, they're worse than the Zarkoth ever were. Another shook its head. Can you blame them, after what was done to their world? The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. The chambers were in uproar. This is an atrocity, shouted one counselor. The humans must be stopped before they become worse than the evil they fight. But fear held them back. None wanted to risk facing Earth's wrath. Meanwhile, Emily Chen, once a beacon of human ingenuity, found herself troubled by the turn of events. In a secure communication with John, she voiced her concerns. We're losing ourselves, John, she said, her voice heavy. These tactics, they're turning us into monsters. John sighed, the weight of command evident in his voice. I know, Emily, but what choice do we have? It's them or us. As the brutal campaign continued, Earth's forces pushed further into Zarkoth territory. Planets fell one by one, their populations either fleeing in terror or succumbing to the Nexus bombs. Jack Thompson, leading a ground assault on a Zarkoth stronghold, watched as enemy soldiers mindlessly turned on each other. This isn't right, he muttered, but he pressed on, following orders. The Zarkoth, once proud conquerors, now knew fear. Their fleets retreated from Earth's approach, abandoning outposts and colonies. But there was nowhere in the galaxy to hide from humanity's vengeance. Supreme Commander Zelnek, one of the few Zarkov leaders to escape the initial counterattack, sent a desperate message to the Galactic Council. "You must help us," he pleaded. "The humans will not stop with us. They'll come for you all next." His words sent shockwaves through the council. Many realized, too late, the danger of allowing Earth's unchecked revenge. Back on Earth, celebrations of victory were tinged with unease. People whispered about the methods used, the lines crossed. Some welcomed the newfound power, eager to subjugate those who had once oppressed them. Others worried about the cost to humanity's soul. In her office in the rebuilt United Nations headquarters, Maria stared at reports of their latest conquests. The casualty numbers were low for her forces, but the ethical cost weighed heavily on her. A young aide entered, excitement on his face. "General, we've located the Zarkov homeworld. We can end this war once and for all." Maria nodded slowly, her decision made. "Prepare the fleet. It's time to finish this." As Earth's armada prepared for its final assault, the galaxy watched in fear and fascination. Humanity, once dismissed as primitive, had become the most terrifying force in the universe. The battle for survival had been won, but at what cost? As the fleet jumped to hyperspace, the question hung in the air. In their quest for revenge, had humanity become the very monster they sought to destroy? The Earth fleet emerged from hyperspace, facing the Zarkov homeworld. Thousands of ships, once belonging to Earth's invaders, now served humanity. At the head of the fleet, the EFS Revenge, Earth's new flagship, prepared for the final battle. On the bridge, General Maria Gonzalez surveyed the enemy forces. The Zarkov had gathered every ship they had left, forming a desperate last line of defense around their planet. "This is it," Maria said, her voice firm. "Today, we end this war. For Earth." The battle began with a fury unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships, piloted by crews driven by years of pent-up rage, tore into the Zarkov fleet. The aliens fought back fiercely, knowing this was their last stand. In the thick of the fight, John Smith led a squad of elite soldiers on a daring mission. Their target, the Zarkov Central Command on the planet's surface. As their ship dodged enemy fire, John turned to his team. "Remember why we're here," he said, his eyes hard. "For everyone we lost, for our homes, for Earth." They landed under heavy fire, fighting their way through the alien capital. The Zarkov, terrified of the Nexus bombs, fought with desperate ferocity, but they were no match for the battle-hardened humans. Meanwhile, in orbit, Emily Chen coordinated the fleet's movements from the Revenge. Her fingers flew over the controls, directing ships with precision. But as she watched the destruction unfold, doubt gnawed at her. "We've won," she thought. "Why doesn't it feel like victory?" On the planet's surface, John's team finally reached the Central Command. They burst in, weapons ready, only to find a surprising scene. The Zarkov leaders weren't preparing for battle. They were huddled around a communication device, begging the Galactic Council for help. Supreme Commander Xelnak turned to face the humans, his once proud posture now defeated. "Please," he said, his voice trembling. "We surrender. Show mercy." John hesitated, his finger on the trigger. For a moment, he saw not an alien invader, but a beaten foe, as scared as humans had been years ago. He lowered his weapon. "General," John called over the comm, "the Zarkov surrender. Awaiting orders." Back on the Revenge, Maria received the news with surprise. She looked out at the battle raging around them. With a heavy sigh, she made her decision. "All forces, cease fire," she ordered. "The enemy has surrendered." Slowly, the sounds of battle faded. Ships stopped firing. Troops halted their advance. An eerie silence fell over the battlefield. As word spread, reactions varied. Some human soldiers cheered, glad the war was finally over. Others grumbled, feeling cheated of their final revenge. The Zarkov, expecting annihilation, were stunned by the mercy shown. In the following days, delegates from Earth met with the defeated Zarkov leaders. The terms of surrender were harsh. The Zarkoth would withdraw from all conquered worlds, pay heavy reparations, and submit to human oversight for years to come. But they would survive as a species. As news of the war's end spread across the galaxy, the reaction was one of shock and relief. Planets that had lived in fear of both Zarkoth and human aggression breathed a collective sigh. On Earth, celebrations broke out. People flooded the streets, cheering the end of the long and brutal war. But amidst the joy, there was also reflection on the cost of victory. In a quiet moment aboard the Revenge, Maria, John, and Emily gathered to discuss the future. "We won," John said, his voice tired. "But at what cost?" Emily nodded. "We nearly lost ourselves in our quest for revenge. How do we come back from that?" Maria looked out at the stars, her face thoughtful. "We rebuild. Not just our world, but our humanity. We show the galaxy that we can be better than our enemies." As the Earth fleet prepared to return home, carrying news of their victory, the galaxy watched and waited. Humanity had proven itself a force to be reckoned with, capable of both great destruction and unexpected mercy. The tables had turned. Earth, once a victim, now stood as a major power in the galaxy. But the true test was yet to come. Could humanity use its newfound strength wisely, or would the cycle of violence begin anew? As the ships jumped to hyperspace, the future of Earth and the galaxy hung in the balance. The war was over, but humanity's greatest challenge was just beginning. 5 years had passed since the end of the war. Earth, once a backwater planet, now stood at the center of a new galactic order. The scars of invasion were slowly healing, and humanity looked to the stars not with fear, but with ambition. In the rebuilt United Nations building in New York, now serving as Earth's center of galactic diplomacy, General Maria Gonzalez prepared for a crucial meeting. As she straightened her uniform, she reflected on how much had changed. "Ready, General?" asked John Smith, now her chief advisor. His hair had grayed, but his eyes still held the same determination. Maria nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be to reshape the galaxy." They entered a vast chamber filled with representatives from dozens of alien species. Some looked at the humans with respect, others with fear, and a few with barely concealed resentment. At the center sat the members of the Galactic Council, nervously eyeing the Earth delegation. Maria took her place at the podium. "Distinguished representatives," she began, her voice firm. "We stand at a crossroads. The old order, built on conquest and subjugation, has failed. Today, we propose a new path." As Maria spoke, Emily Chen worked tirelessly in her lab back on Earth. The brilliant scientist had turned her attention from weapons to healing. On her screen, a simulation showed a device that could restore worlds ravaged by war. "We did so much damage," Emily muttered to herself. "It's time we fixed it." Meanwhile, on a distant planet, Jack Thompson led a team of human and alien engineers. They were rebuilding a city destroyed in the final days of the war. As a young Zarkoth approached him, Jack tensed for a moment, old habits dying hard. "Thank you," the alien said simply, gesturing at the rising buildings, "for giving us a second chance." Jack smiled, surprised by the warmth he felt. "That's what this is all about," he replied. "Second chances for all of us." Back in the council chambers, Maria outlined humanity's vision for the future. "We propose a galactic federation," she explained. "One built on mutual respect and cooperation, not domination. Earth will share its technology and resources, but we ask for equal partnership in return." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some species, long oppressed by the old council, eagerly supported the idea. Others, used to the old power structures, were hesitant. A Zarkoth representative, part of their new, reformed government, stood up. "We, who were once your enemies, support this proposal," he said, his voice heavy with emotion. "We have seen the cost of aggression and the power of mercy. It is time for a new way." His words swayed many who were undecided. After hours of debate, a vote was called. The result was clear. The Galactic Federation would become a reality, with Earth as a founding member. As the council chambers emptied, John approached Maria. "We did it," he said, a rare smile on his face. "But this is just the beginning, isn't it?" Maria nodded. "The hard part comes now. We have to prove we're worthy of the trust they've placed in us." Across the galaxy, news of the Federation spread. On countless worlds, beings looked to the skies with new hope. Earth, once an unknown speck in the cosmos, was now a symbol of resilience and change. In a classroom on Earth, a young girl raised her hand. "Teacher," she asked, "will I be able to visit other planets when I grow up?" The teacher smiled. "Yes, and not just visit. You might help build new worlds, make new friends among the stars. The galaxy is open to us now." As night fell on Earth, Maria stood on the balcony of her office, looking at the stars. She thought of all they had been through: the invasion, the resistance, the brutal war, and now this fragile peace. "We struck back," she murmured to herself. "But now we have to do something even harder. We have to forgive, to heal, to build." A shooting star streaked across the sky. Once, humans had wished on such sights. Now they reached out and touched them. The future was uncertain, filled with challenges and opportunities. But one thing was clear: humanity had claimed its place among the stars. As ships from a dozen worlds docked at Earth's new spaceport, as alien students enrolled in human universities, as joint scientific missions embarked for the unknown, a new era dawned. Earth had risen from the ashes of invasion to lead a galactic renaissance. The story of humanity's revenge was over. The story of their leadership had just begun.